So good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on next generation managed services. My name is Chris Gomez, and I'm an account director here at Evosys. And my focus is around demonstrating the value of our next generation managed services, as well as some of the other technologies that Oracle has in Oracle Cloud to achieve a greater return on investment on your Oracle Cloud. I'm delighted to be joined today by Vikas and Darvel. So Vikas Sarani is our global pre-sales leader, and he's been actively involved in shaping the unique offering we have around managed services. And I'm also joined by Darvel Acharya, who leads up the analytics and AI team here in Europe. So by means of an agenda, over the next 40 minutes, we'd like to cover three main areas, really. So firstly, Vikas and I will be talking a little bit about how getting extra value from your Oracle Cloud with our next generation managed service. We'll then go on to talk about how we can overlay our value-based analytics to identify areas of improvement in an Oracle Cloud environment. And then Darvel and I will talk about the role that other technologies such as robotic process automation plays in driving success in your Oracle Cloud. We hope to finish with time to deal with any questions at the end, but rest assured, if we do run out of time to answer all of your questions, we'll follow up with each of you and endeavour to respond to those outstanding questions. But firstly, let's start by asking the question of why you choose a next generation managed service. So in the many years that I've been involved in software and technology, managed services has always been seen as a necessary evil to ensure that you keep the lights on for your critical business applications. So when you look at what's required to run those business applications, you'd normally need a multifaceted service, potentially provided by a number of suppliers. You'd have a series of servers, for example, with networking equipment, and that provider would deal with any faults and firmware updates that you'd need on those. Interestingly, we then saw the option of that same hardware being hosted in someone else's data center, but that service wrap of looking after the hardware and the firmware remains the same. So overlaying that hardware would be an operating system, a database, an application, and each of those layers would have their own service management to install hotfixes and service packs across all three. The upgrades would typically be larger and infrequent, given the amount of effort that goes into user acceptance testing prior to rolling out. And then you'd have some sort of incident handling queue that prioritized and diverted tickets accordingly, that would end up with one of those teams based on what the issue was. So one of the things that I was pleasantly surprised about when I joined Evosys and learned a bit more about the managed service that we offer is that we provide a managed service that's shifted away from just keeping the lights on to much more of a value-added service. So obviously, this has been helped by the shift to cloud solutions, as it's helped to refocus our attention on providing that value add within the application itself. It's been a real positive to get updates available and installed quicker. So like, for example, in Oracle's case, we get quarterly updates. And that means that you can realize those benefits of those updates a lot quicker as well. But I know that with that comes the necessity of regular user acceptance, testing, and that causes an additional overhead. But as part of our service, it gives us focus on supporting this. And in particular, when Darvel and I talk about technologies later on, we'll be talking about how robotic process automation can be embedded into this managed service to help with that. And it's also seen the focus move away from ticket numbers and how many are resolved to actually focusing on business aligned KPIs. So for example, streamlining processes and working on that root cause of issues to increase business efficiency. And it's great to see that we work on wanting to see those ticket numbers drop, not just show customers how good we are at closing tickets in a certain window based on the priority of those tickets. So, Vikas, a lot of these points are interesting, but what do they actually mean? How do we actually help our customers get more value from our Oracle Cloud investment?
Yeah, sure, Chris. Thank you. We, as Evosys, believe in providing the deliverable, measurable values to our customers. Now, depending upon the services, what you might have taken from us, but this is the overall transformation journey for our customer, which starts with the business case of move to the cloud and what are the values which are associated of moving to the cloud. along with the finalization of the KPIs, which would be associated with the transformation journey. It follows with regards to the inaction, where our adopt process of doing the implementation with a proven value comes into the picture, and we got the right process along with the embracing of innovative technologies. Now, most of the time, people focus on the first two steps about the objectives and how to do that particular thing. But many a time, people are missing the value or the realization which is required to be taken from the continuous improvement, which we believe is a key aspect as far as customer is concerned. And for that to happen, we have created assets and our next generation managed services, which not only keeps the lights on, but also helps you to provide proactive services on the business, what you are doing, along with the system processes. If you are a customer who has going live in recent time, or let's say there is a planned go live and you are going to go live, let's say probably next quarter, these are the items what we have analyzed and put forward back to you. You would be seeing that there will be a performance dip with regards to the employee usage of the system, because it could be a new system which they are going to use. So there could be a concern with regards to how to do that, how to raise the invoice, how to attach the invoice inside the system, or that could be a data quality issues at the start. And generally, we have seen there is a dip in performance. Now, this dip would also evolve down the line if the things are not taken into the right consideration. Like the issues, if they're not resolved in a right way, they might lose the interest with regards to the new system which you are going live with. If you are not embracing the latest updates from the Oracle, then you are going to left behind with regards to the value which Oracle provides. These are the things, if you do not have a right way of handling that kind of thing, the problems may occur. Generally, we have seen that it would be categorized into 4 items, which you can see at top row, which is about system adoption. So we have to make sure people use the system in the right way at the right time, and it does not become an overhead for them to use the system, but it helps them to finish their work faster. It could be the optimization of process, and I'm sure that many of you who are present today would have already created certain objectives of your transformation journey, and you would like to see that live once the system is started to use by your users. So process optimization is the second aspect. Quarterly update is one of the key area which you believe when you go to the cloud, it's a journey and you have to embrace the latest technology. And we have created assets as well as the program which will effectively help you to do that. Last but not the least, about the Oracle communication, which is because you don't have any hardware at now on premises. You don't have network which is required to be managed. It has been done by Oracle. So we do a Oracle communication to make that happen, and all the processes are going in line. So these are the key aspects what you should consider post implementation if you're going live with the system. Now, if we look to the second aspect of it, considering what is the strategic viewpoint behind it, we do not only want to keep the lights on, we want to bring business value along with the adoption and automation. From our experience and the work which we are currently doing from last 15 years, we believe with the combination of people, process, and technology, we'll be able to achieve this strategic objective. Particularly when you go for the managed services part, you want to shift left with regards to the people as well as processes and system thing. So the focus training and the root cause analysis of whatever the problems which are getting generated really helps to shift left in that direction. As Chris was referring, that we are not here to just solve the tickets what you give to us, or what are the problems you get and we solve that. We are here to automate the things. A simple problem like user creation, which is like an admin task, which could be also automated with regards to the RPA. And that is something which you believe will help you to bring more value to the business and the investment which you are making in. We do not only want you to dependent on Evosys, we want you to be self-sufficient. So the shadowing with regards to your L1 team and the enablement to make that happen and issue resolution part is also compiled into this package. We got the assets, and one of the assets which we are going to speak more about is about value-based analytics, which will help you to do the continuous improvement. And I'll be sharing more lights with regards to how it works in action and what LU it brings on the table. If we talk about the managed services, and one of the points which Chris was referring, it's not about managing the legacy or doing the things traditionally. It's about how we can do things differently and make sure that the value is coming on the table. Generally speaking, these are the 4 type of services which would be required by any customer. It could be the application maintenance. So if you're an Oracle Cloud customer, Fusion customer, it would be a SaaS, software as a service, which is required to be maintained upon. If you also procured platform as a service, or you have some on-premises system which are hosted into infrastructure as a service, that could be the infrastructure maintenance, managing your versions and managing your infrastructure for that. For both of the above component, there could be some minor enhancement. If there is a report which is required to be tweaked, there could be a function which is required to be enhanced. That is something which we categorize as minor enhancement, which we believe should be part and parcel of the overall engagement. The fourth one is there would be high demand which will be coming in. It could be a periodic closure, it could be a new module implementation, it could be the enhancement which is required to be done because of the, let's say, merger or something enhanced which you like to do. So that should be a flexible pool. So these are the area which is generally required and we believe should be part of your consideration. On the left-hand side, you can see the activities which you have mentioned, which is to solve the problems which are being given to you. So we help you to manage the service request and do the issue resolution. We do the environment management along with our Oracle expertise. And I believe that majority of the vendors whom you would be working currently with or you are thinking of would have that particular thing. But we believe that bringing more value on the table, which is something which you are putting on the right-hand side of your screen, which is about value-based analytics to not only solve the problems, but set the KPIs and see how we can continuously improve. It could be as simple as that period closure, which you might be taking currently 10 days. We may want to target to 5 days, and we associate the activities which will help to move from 10 to 5. It could be with regards to the system utilization, what you are currently having. Let's say it's 30% of the system utilization is happening currently. Our target is to make it at least 50, and we have the assets which will help you to exactly move into that direction. It should be also covering the training and the enablement for your L1 team as well as the business user. And this is one of the aspects which we believe continuous improvements make sense over here. Quarterly update. This is one area when you go to the cloud, and if you're new to the cloud, this needs to be handled very effectively. And this should not be looked as an overhead. And we have seen customers who are embracing the latest technology or latest updates in the quarterly, let's say, which are coming in Oracle Cloud, are better off than the other one. And this is somewhere where we are also creating global webinars for this. And we have a unique process which will help you to do the quarterly update along with the technology RPA, which will help you to reduce the admin task and it will help you to automate the things. So these are the areas and these are the features or the functionalities which we say will help you to move to the next gen rather than staying with the traditional services. To cite you one example, the root cause analysis, which helps you to understand the qualitative and the quantitative aspect of the service request or the incidents which are getting raised. We do this analysis on a periodic basis and check whether the issues are repetitive in nature. If at all, what are the root cause of it, and make sure that we are able to solve that root cause. It could be with regards to the data quality, if the data is not entered in the right way. It could be with regards to not knowing how to enter the data at which place by the user. And that may require the training part, which is something which we look forward to and provide to you. So this is one of the key aspects which we wanted to highlight, and so on and so forth. There are other aspects of which we highlighted into the earlier slide. The benefits, what we see in this kind of scenario, our customers are getting is effective problem management, not to only to solve the problems at one time, but to clear that particular root cause altogether, so that we don't get that kind of thing subsequently. It also goes into the knowledge base, so that the knowledge base becomes better and bigger, and the how-to questions could be resolved from there on rather than depending on any third party. It could be with regards to adopting the standard practices and learning from other customers. So we have a model of global center of excellence where we are doing the cross-functional and cross-regional learnings. So that learnings we always put forward to our customers. The third one is about continuous monitoring of support service quality, which I'll be sharing more lights when I touch base with the value-based analytics part, which will eventually help you to understand which direction are you going. Are you going in a red or are you going in a green, or what position are you in currently? So this is some of the assets or some of the features which I wanted to share with you. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, thanks very much, Vikas. This is all really interesting stuff. Have you got anything that sort of tells us what our customers are saying about what they're finding with this service?
Yeah, that's a good thing. And we got some customer testimonials. couple of them from the region, people are logged in from UK. So proactive problem resolution is something which has been testimonied by our customers, and it is first class. That is what our UK council customer is referring to. A second customer which I wanted to highlight was about issue handling. So I was referring to the root cause analysis and how that particular thing work in action. So this organization was not happy with the past, let's say, vendor, and they were always getting the same issues repetitively. And we believed that that was not the right way. And when we executed our engagement with them, they were really appreciating the value that we not only solve the problems, but make it proactive resolution of it, and the root cause analysis are being done on that. So these are some of the testimonials, Krish, which our customers are referring to with regards to the next gen managed services.
Thanks very much, Vikas. Obviously, it's clear to see that we do have customers getting great value out of this service. So we've heard about the customer journey from investing in a new cloud solution through to go live into business as usual. And we've also talked about how we can help. So thanks again, Vikas. But it's not just about managed service, is it? What else do we overlay on top of managed services, Vikas, to find those areas of improvement?
Yeah, so value-based delivery is something which we are believing in and we are executing on. One of the key aspects in specific area of, let's say, post-implementation, that is the value realization phase, is about value-based analytics. And I will throw some light on that and help you understand that what are the aspects you should look forward and how you can continuously improve in this area of work. Most of the time, and I'm sure that you might also be resonating yourself with the problem what has been mentioned over here, we buy systems or we buy things for some objective in mind. But are we really checking whether that objectives are getting resolved or achieved once we buy that particular thing or once we implement that particular thing? We found answer is no for majority of the customers which we surveyed and the overall market. And to solve this problem, we got a value-based analytics tool. This tool will not only help you to understand where you are currently, but which direction you can go for. It is not only the tool which we provide to you, but it is associated with the advisory services, which will help you to understand that what are the direction and what are the areas of improvement which should look forward to make that happen. It ultimately helps you to move from reactive to the proactive mode so that you have a known issue before actually the issue occurs. It helps you to move from technicalities to the business value. It talks about the numbers. It talks about the cycle time. It talks about the number of days which you are taking to, let's say, process the payroll. It talks about the data quality thing. So that are the business value which we look forward, not with the workflows which are getting dysfunctional or the technical report, which was, let's say, another technology altogether. That is something which we do not believe that is a value you should be looking for the business value. And the last but not the least about the fact work, we believe in measurable value, and the fact audit is something which is close to us, and we showcase you that these are the improvement areas and this is what the percentage improvement is, and this is how we normally function with the value-based analytics. Now, if someone would say that I already got the reports, I've completed the implementation, I might have everything, but I do not have this KPI currently within my system or within my business, how can I achieve that? To make that easier, we have created 50 plus pre-built KPIs, which could be selected by the customers, and that particular deployment would be happening for that particular customers. And then out of it, we measure that thing on a periodic basis and share you back what value or what are the improvements which we see over here. So there is a library of pre-built KPIs which could be made use of. When I speak about this KPIs or the overall analysis, which we are speaking about value-based analytics, that can be categorized into 4 categories. The first category is about process optimization. So let's say, take a case of, let's say, financial director or a CFO. Their KPI is to close the books faster and make sure that we are able to publish the results right on time without any hiccups. Now, this is one of the KPI which has been always there, but that has not been measured or monitored from the system. We have a pre-built KPI dashboards which have been created on this, and associated consultancy services, how we can improve that particular thing, is embedded within our managed services. From the CIO perspective, it could be with regards to what is the system utilization or the adoption of Oracle Cloud. For that, we have created a category called a system adoption, which does not only look that how many features are being used by your users, but also tells you that which department or which users are doing what transactions and what is the usage of it. The third and very important component within that category is data quality. Majority of the time we see that people are using the system, but they're not able to get the right report on right time. And that is one of the reasons is about the data quality entered into the system. And this actually tells you whether the data quality is entered in the right way or not. If not, we can take a proactive actions and make sure that that has been factored upon. The third category is about the analytics part, to understand what are your top 5 the supplier spend happening currently, what are your top 5 accounts which are getting targeted upon the transactions which you are referring to. It will help you to increase the visibility with regards to the spend and other aspect of it. The last but not the least about the audit and compliances. This is one of the reason where external auditor comes in, but are they having the right tool, or are you able to check whether the things are right or not? So this helps you to wear a hat of auditor and see by yourself that what things are going right and what are the things you may have to take a corrective action on. These are the broad 4-level categories, and there are a lot many analytics and the KPIs associated with it. But to provide you the persona mapping, this is how the function is working. Chris, if you'd like to take more questions over here. Yeah.
Yes. So obviously, in the interest of time, we'd love to go through all 4, but what we're going to do is we're going to just run a quick poll to see for the guests on this webinar, which of these areas is the most important in your business at the moment. And what we'll do is we'll go into that into a bit more detail. So if I could ask you to just have a look at the question and answer accordingly. So, Vikas, it looks like a lot of our guests are saying that system adoption is the area of focus at the moment. So, if I could ask you to spend a bit of time talking about system adoption.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And I've seen many times people are selecting that option because that is the low-hanging fruit. People would like to have a quick win to make that happen. So let me drill down to that particular aspect and show the goodness what could be leveraged with the value-based analytics. If you see this particular analytics over here, it says the finance process summary on the top dashboard, which says that what is the actual transactions which have been done within the system. It says you are using general ledger. It says you are using accounts payable in a right way, but we see lesser number of transactions in the payment. We see lesser number of transactions in the fixed asset. So if you want to have a high level view whether all the modules or all the things which you have procured are being used or not, you can know it from the first screen itself. Now you may be interested to know whether this accounts payment, or let's say take for an example, who is using what, whether all the users or the department is making good use of it, or whether all the key processes which are there in payments are making good use of it, or are we using that or not, or it could be the data exception. So these are the 3 options which you can drill down into, and you can get into that particular information. If you click onto the user summary, into the key process summary, then you get the bottom picture which says about the detail, which helps you to understand that what is that feature you are currently using and what is the features which you are not currently using. You are not using the discount on payment. The refund payment is something which is not getting transacted in. It could also help you to understand whether when you bought the system, you wanted to do automated processing of invoices. You wanted to make sure that the multi-period accounting, which is available in the system, is made use of so that you don't have to do a recurring admin activity. With this, you can know it, whether it is being used or not. If not, you may want to put forward the back to the customer, to the user, and say that why are we not making use of it? And we as Evosys make sure that your users are adopting in a right way, right things, and their processes and their things are getting better in shape day on day. The second example which I wanted to share was about as a supply chain operation manager, or let's say the procurement manager, you wanted to know whether the purchasing features functionalities are being used or right way or not, whether the users are using right things at the right time or not. This is a snapshot of that particular thing. You can see that whether the agreements are being made against the PO. So that is numbers what you can see over here. You can see that foreign currency is something which is currently not used, and the contract purchase is something which is lower used. This is just the sample, and as we speak, there are a lot of good analytics which have been created, and we also help you to leverage this analytics on a top 5 basis. That if this is your KPI, these are the 4 analytics which will help you to do it. Now, interestingly, we have a lot of customers where people are using this system and people are using this dashboards. But what we have seen the curve is, if it is associated along with the advisory services, which is VBA as a service, then it gives much more higher importance to it, because we also help you to understand what are the ways to improve that particular thing. And most of the customers are going with the combination of tools along with the services, which helps them to go in a better position of that business. One of the testimonials which I wanted to share quickly with you, and probably you may also resonate your case with this particular thing. This was a customer who was not having Evosys services, and they are looking for a partner who can provide them the managed services. We went over there, we finalized overall agreement with them, and at the first month of those managed services, we started doing the value-based analytics deployment into the Oracle Cloud system. We deployed this, and we did analysis of what is going right or what is going wrong over here. We were able to see around 60,000, let's say, value, which was not been there in the system, or it was in a duplicate invoice within the first month of deployment of our dashboard. And this was appreciated by the customer, that the value which you're referring was a surprise for them. And then they had an auditing part of it and made sure that the problems are not only getting resolved, but we're also getting back the money which has been wrongly paid or wrongly been accounted for. The second aspect which we see about the approval cycle. Now, as a big organization which you are coming from, or you might have taken many things when you started with the transformation journey, and you would have made probably the rigid system which has multiple approvals. It has a long cycle to follow and long hierarchy to follow. The customer was no different over here. In a 30 days itself, they were using almost approval of 37,000 invoices, which used to take around 100 main days per main hours per day, and that was a big value which has been going only for the approval part. We showcased back this particular aspect to them, and they wanted to make sure that this is not being used as an admin activity. We are making sure that we limit the overall hierarchy, and that is getting transformed in a right way. So these are the areas and the possibilities how people are making use of this particular value-based analytics, and we have many other use cases which could be made use of. This was something which I wanted to put forward as a value-based analytics. Over to you, Chris, for the subsequent section.
Thanks so much, Vikas. You've raised some interesting points there. For any of our guests on the webinar today, obviously we wanted to have done all 4, but in the interest of time, we can only select one. But I'm going to be sharing my contact details at the end of this session, so do reach out to me if you want to go into a bit more detail on system adoption, or if there are other areas that you want us to look at. So let's move on and talk a little bit about how technology can be used to drive further success from your Oracle Cloud. Darvel, I mentioned earlier about testing and robotic process automation. Can you give us a little bit more insight into this?
Sure, Chris, thank you. So talking about innovative technologies, we as an Evosys have invested our resources into identifying how these can be leveraged to improve the overall service experience that the customer have from their investment into the ERP side. So looking at the RPA, we have created automated testing tools. This will support the quarterly testing that customers receive from Oracle side, and that will reduce the overall time to identify the processes. If there are any failures in the updates or any patches that need revision, and report to the Oracle side. If I go down to more details. So if I go down into more details, I have around, for each of the different modules, I have processes like HCM, finance, and supply chain. I have more than 70 plus, 50 plus process for supply chain, 100 plus process for finance. So we have taken into consideration all the key critical processes that a customer might have on these different areas, and we run them on the customer instance to identify any gaps in the patches or upgrades that they might have received during the test upgrade cycle. and inform Oracle early on so that they get a resolution or they get enough time to decide whether they want to go ahead with the upgrade or not. What this RPA also does is like it can be used to identify in other key areas where the robotic process automation can be used. And if the processes time can be improved, like Vikas talked about the approval cycle, and if there are certain level of approvals that you would like to redirect to a robot, you could very well do that. And if that's a pain area that can be resolved by the automation, that will give you a leverage on the audits, because if everything that the bot does is recorded, you will be able to see what it has done, and overall time saving in terms of the overall process. So that's about robotic process automation usage in the support cycle. For the customers who have existing investment into analytics, we have a team of experts who look into the overall analytics that they have currently implemented, and they might have varied sources from which data is coming in to their data warehouse, and they have existing dashboards and KPIs. What we bring to the table is we identify the right KPIs that should be looked at as a part of the overall support cycle, and if there are any gaps in the data warehouse or the ETL processes, we can help you guys to bring it down to acceptable levels. So if I talk about one such customer, they had variety of sources that was lying on different systems. So if you could see, that was HCM, finance management. They had third-party systems where the data was lying, and the customer was looking at data individually, and there was no clear picture of an overall or an enterprise level view. What we did for them is like to bring a single source of truth for all the information that they had, and created a single data warehouse that they could report on. And this was also able to, in this process, we were also able to identify areas where the performance was not optimum, and we could improve and tune their entire enterprise data warehouse performance as well. So that was about one of the experience that we had with one of our support customers. So overall, we could see a 50% time improvement in the analytics layer that they were looking at. Talking about chatbots, so recently there has been a trend where people are looking at chatbots with COVID. There is a lot of remote working, and the core teams like the HR or the finance support team, they're getting a lot of requests from employees that are working in their department regarding the legal application getting stuck, or if the HR policies, what are the different changes in the policies due to the situation, and they have been busy attending calls and answering those questions. So this is one area where we have seen good adoption in the AMS, where we could bring value from their existing knowledge base. So the customer might have a ticketing system, and there will be a lot of resolutions on the tickets that could have been reused or refocused to answer the queries of the employees in the first level. So whether rather than reaching out to the tickets, if we could resolve those at the employee level, we could reduce the amount of flow to the HR executive or the finance support team. To address that, we have created variety of digital assistants across the modules. So it may be HCM, so we have self-service chatbots, expense claim. So those are the areas where a lot of time is invested from the employee side as well as from the core HR team side. Employee onboarding experiences. So with things going remote, we have a lot of requests from our customers to enable them to improve the overall onboarding experience for the candidates, because there's no face-to-face interaction either during the interview process or during the onboarding process. It becomes a bad experience, or there might be some gaps in the experience that the candidate might have during the onboarding process. We also have solutions for supply chain, where supply chain self-services for answering supplier queries, purchase order status for internal team members, and also taking on the inventory status, like by chatting into a chatbot using a WhatsApp. That's a regular channel that everybody is used to using. Talking about our experience in the client, so we have worked on multiple clients where we have enabled digital assistant on their existing knowledge base, their policy documents, or for the onboarding self-service experience across the different modules. Talking about one such customer is the Ministry of Education in the Middle East, where we have implemented this solution. And we were able to answer queries of their and improve their onboarding experience by answering queries of their on their website for what are the job openings available, how can we apply, what is the qualification criteria for that particular position. So those were the questions that the bot was able to answer right from the website or from the mobile device using WhatsApp, and they were able to cater to more candidates during this COVID times. Apart from that, they were also able to answer queries related to the students. So the students looking for admissions within the different universities under the Ministry of Education, they were able to ask questions whether the courses will be running online or they will be starting soon, or whether they will start or not. So they were able to answer student queries as well, and they were able to offload a lot of requests to the chatbot. So that is one of the experience for one of the customers that we implemented the solution for. So I think it's, as per the discussion on digital assistant, we would like to have a poll. So over to you, Chris, for the poll question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Darvel. Yeah, so what we'd like to do now is obviously we'd like to again cover these 4 areas in more detail, but in the interest of time, what we'd like to do is just see from our guests, which of these 4 areas do you feel a digital assistant will provide the most value in your organization? So thank you very much so far for voting. Looks like, Darvel, at the moment that a number of people are saying the HR team, so human capital management, would be the area of most interest.
Absolutely. So that's the area that we have also seen a good amount of return on investment by implementing such solutions.
Okay, I'm just going to close the poll now. So yeah, it looks like it's HR. Thanks, Darvel. Could you just give us a bit more about what we're doing around digital assistance in the HCM world?
Sure. So yeah, talking about the HCM world, what we have done with a few of our customers is to make the journey of digital transformation. We have included chatbot as a part of their Fusion HCM. So the HCM makes the overall adoption of the new system or the ERP system for existing employees as well as the new employees easier. As it is able to understand your natural language, it increases the job satisfaction level by reducing the number of L1 requests or the FAQ kind of request to the HR team. So answering questions related to policy or asking about the leave balance, how many sick days do I get off, taking reports of taking reports of the sick. If an employee is on sick leave, they have to report when they will be back, or whether there is any handover that needs to be taken care of. So all those kind of questions can directly be handled by the chatbot, thereby reducing the workload on the HR team. This can, for a few of our customers, we have used chatbot as a self-service to train the employee. So you could have documents sent across saying, okay, show me how to apply for a leave, and the bot will send across a navigation along with a document with screenshots that could help the employee to raise a leave. So it could be anything that the chatbot can pick up. It will reduce the change management efforts if you have recently implemented the ERP solution. It can help you run the trainings or take up certain transactions like applying for a leave, raising purchase requisition, checking the leave balance, etc. So if we can push these kind of self-service on the chatbot, the end user's experience or the change management efforts will be reduced, and the HR team can have more focus on the core activities and add value by the investment in the digital transformation. So if you have taken up the cloud, the core teams can look at the standard processes, improve the processes, improve the documentation, and focus time on overall improvement that the organization has invested in. So, and as you could see the video there in the center, we have created a bot that could understand languages like, where you type next Wednesday and it would automatically pick up the date that is that is falling on the next Wednesday, and it could apply a leave for that. And then you are also able to see what is the leave balance after the application of leave or as of date. So all those kind of transactions can be understood easily by the chatbot, and it can take a lot of tasks on the employee as well as from the HR team.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Darvel. Just conscious of time now, so just to wrap things up, we've spoken a lot about some of the digital transformation that we see with the managed services that we offer and the technology that we've got around it. But it doesn't end there. It's important to know that a digital transformation, it spans other areas. So we strive to help our customers in their digital journey. And having merged with Mastech now, that we can offer a more complete digital service spanning applications across the entire business. So we help our customers to realise true benefits of their data and unlock the power of that data. We look at continuing to develop and modernise applications and solutions to keep them current and fit for purpose. And all of this is achieved by some of the services that you're seeing on this slide. So to the left-hand side, it's a lot of the Oracle solutions that we as Evosys offer and that we've spoken about today. But on the right-hand side of the screen, it's around that complete digital transformation service. And I'd be delighted to follow up with any of our guests today to talk a little bit more about how we can actually help you on that digital customer journey. So I think we've got a little bit of time left now for some questions. So I'm going to put it out to our guests to answer any questions within the actual tool to see if we can use Vikas and Darvel to get any of those points that you feel are unanswered still. I can see that a couple of questions have come in. So Vikas, I guess this is a question for you. In terms of transition from one managed service provider to another, what sort of time does it actually take to either transition from one to another or actually transition into a managed service?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And I can see the good excitement about the things what we are putting it forward. So as far as our experience is concerned, and there are many customers where the implementation was done by another company, and then they wanted to have a better partner for the managed services. The experience what ranges from 3 weeks as a minimal time to take on the transition from your current vendor and take the knowledge transfer from them and start servicing from, let's say, after the completion of first month. If it's a complex environment and if you have a larger part of it, it could also go into a couple of months. So we got a wide, let's say, array with regards to how much transition it could be there. But to answer that question in more detail, I guess we are also having something into the next month in November, where we are going to pick this particular transition part and go and deep dive with regards to how we as Evosys do that particular thing, what are the value addition which we bring on the table, and how the effectiveness could be maintained once we start our service.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Another question, I guess it is for you and I to answer here, Vikas. The question is around traditional managed service and the comment I made about it being a necessary evil. So just to position that, I guess traditional managed services for me I would position it as an insurance policy, because ultimately you'd have that managed service to have the comfort that if anything were to go wrong, you would want the experts there to ensure that you can actually get that service up and running as quickly as possible. So like with an insurance policy for a car or a home, you never want to actually use it, but it's there as a bit of a comfort blanket. So that's why we're very much seeing the next generation managed service. You're now seeing those those value adds, because we're actively working within the application to give you benefit in addition to actually keeping the lights on. Vikas, is there anything you want to add to that?
Absolutely, Chris. You gave a right let's analogy with regards to the managed service and how is the perceived value by the customer. We as Evosys has made sure that not only you keep the lights on, but the proactiveness is there in whatever the activities which we do. It could be with regards to helping you to make a better utilization of the system. It could be with regards to the improvement of the processes, or it could be as simple as hand-holding one of the new user who has just embarked to your organization and he doesn't have a clue that where to start with. So we believe the proactiveness in the picture will help you to get better value than otherwise. Thank you, Chris.
Brilliant, thank you. But I'm just conscious of time because we're overrunning slightly. There are a couple of other questions that what we'll do is we'll follow up with each of you on those questions. But I just wanted to finish up now to thank you all for joining and just give you two final points. Firstly, please do check our website for up and coming webinars. If you go to evosysglobal.com, there's a webinars button on the homepage. We've got a fantastic series of sessions around the Oracle 20D release. And following on from this webinar, Vikas and I are going to be running a webinar in November talking about how you can transition from an existing managed provider to a new one, and all the things that you would need to consider in actually making that smooth and seamless process. And that would also include from an internal team into another managed system. Managed service provider. We'll also follow up with an email to each of you that will include contact details for me. So if there's any points that I've raised today that you'd like to sort of discuss further, please do give me a shout. Okay, so thank you very much everyone for attending this webinar. We hope you found it useful. Thank you.